The number 3 question, based on likes, is from Robert Dickey, and this is an interesting question, actually. And it took me a second to understand what he was saying. He says, does our inability to tell a good story grant us some immunity to the narrative? And I think what he means by that is, I've made the case many times that we on the right have a terrible, terrible lack of being able to tell a decent story, that the rhetorical intelligence is a term that Evan Sayet uses in his book, The Kindergarten of Eden, which I highly recommend. That rhetorical intelligence is the ability to speak and construct stories and tell stories and be a storyteller and kind of do what I'm doing right now, the ability to just talk and presumably try to make it somewhat interesting. And we don't have an awful lot of that on our team. So the question is, because we don't naturally speak in the language of story quite as much as the left does, if I understand him correctly, is he saying, does that mean we're less susceptible to the enemy's narrative? And while I think the answer might be we might be somewhat less susceptible, and we understand that we don't like having our entire belief system trashed, so most conservatives haven't been to the movies in a long, long time, then I don't think the answer is yes, unfortunately, Robert. I think the fact is you don't appreciate how pervasive this is. How many of you have had this experience? How many of you have ever heard Rush Limbaugh say something, or maybe even heard me say something, where you just went, my God, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said that out loud. What guts? It's like, what are you really saying? What you're really saying is, this is a core belief of yours. You know it's true. And somebody actually came out and spoke the truth. You instantly recognize it as the truth. There was no question about whether it was true or not. Rush does this all the time, does it almost every day. And yet you go, I can't believe he said that. Why can't you believe he said that? You can't believe he said it because this pop culture narrative is so deep in your head that you don't even realize it. And one of the things I do when I go around doing the speaking engagements is when I talk to people, I say, you may not realize how powerful and pervasive and pernicious this effect is, but it is very powerful. So I'll stand up there and I'll say, so look, we've got different aged people in this room, so we're going to do 3 little experiments here. I'm going to start a sentence and you're going to finish it. If I start a sentence and you finish it, you would agree that I had some sense of control over your mind, right? If I knew you well enough so that I could lay a first half of a sentence out there and you would finish it the way I wrote it, the way I wanted it to be finished, I'd have some fairly decent control over your mind, wouldn't you say? Most people agree with that. Say, all right, I'm going to start 3 different sentences and you can finish them for me. Ready? It's for your older people out there. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird. And everybody in the audience goes, it's a plane. It's Superman. I said, okay. Now for people more or less my age, just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip. And then you can hear people go, and it started from this tropic port aboard this tiny ship. Yep. And here's one for young people out there. Ready? It seems today that all you see, and they'll go, is violence in movies and sex on TV. So the point to make on this is, if you were one of those people, if I could say, look, up in the sky, it's a bird, and you knew how to go, it's a plane, it's Superman. The reason you can finish that sentence is because you've heard that expression many, many times. You used to watch Superman when you were a kid on TV. I saw it when I was a kid on TV. And that means that everything that went into your head is still in there. You can finish it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman because you know enough about Superman. You saw hours of Superman, and that means because you can say it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman, that means that everything else that Superman was about is in your head too, which means that everything about Superman, truth, justice, the American way, the idea that this is a good country, the idea that these are good people, the idea that Superman was not a force of oppression but a force of liberation. He represented America. America was a fundamentally good place. Superman is America. He's an alien raised by Americans, and that's why he's good. So you have a good view of America because you watch Superman. If you can finish the words from Gilligan's Island, that's a fairly politically neutral thing. As I like to say, the only real lesson you can take from that is if you want to get off the island, all you have to do is kill Gilligan. And then finally, if you can finish the thing from Family Guy, then that means that everything that comes with it is in your head too. If you saw enough episodes of Family Guy to be able to finish the theme song, then you know about all of the anti-Christian, anti-American, anti-business, anti-military, anti-everything that's in Family Guy, and that's in your head too. So it lives in your head, Robert, whether you like it or not, and you can't get away from it. And all you can do is try to understand the messages, but we have to start counter-programming, because the one thing that we have on our side is we don't just have truth. It'd be one thing if you were making the case that conservatives are speaking the truth to people, and that the truth is so unpleasant and so unbearable that it's a very, very tough sell. But that's not the case. We are speaking the truth, but the truth is not unpleasant or unbearable. The truth is freedom, and fast cars are fast cars, and hot women are hot women, and guns are cool and fun, and we have flags on the moon, and we want to fly through the air, and everybody should have 2 or 3 houses if they work hard enough and can afford them, right? So not only is the truth on our side, but fun is on our side, liberty is on our side, freedom's on our side, adventure is on our side, romance and thrills and heroism and all this stuff is on our side, and their side is what? Small, less, weak, whiny, quiet, conform, behave, do what we tell you. How do we not win this fight? I don't know. I don't know how we don't win it. But no, I don't think we get immunity from it, Robert. We may be somewhat more resistant, but it's so much out there. You're going to swim in those waters, you're going to get wet. And that's why we have to get in this fight. That's why we have BillWhittle.com. It's why we're trying to make these movies, because these movies will reach people who would never listen to me. 16, 17, 18-year-old boys and girls are going to go out and see this Bat movie, for example, and they're not going to think about the politics of it. It's just going to be a fun movie, and cool aliens, and it was a big fight, and a lot of people had, it was action, and people had fun, and it was funny, and it got some laughs. They're not going to realize that these people have their own weapons. They're using their own AR-15s, and they are fighting a government that's trying to monitor them through their IMAX, and it's also predator strikes against people who are driving Winnebagos down the street, and they use things like iPhones for remote sensing and intelligence. Our guys do. It's a battle against the government, not just against these creatures. It's a battle to be individuals and to take your own life into your own hands. The idea that a group of ragtag individualists, real individuals, I mean nutcases, really kind of crazy characters, in the way that Buckaroo Banzai was filled with crazy characters. Team Banzai, everybody on Team Banzai is different. Everybody on Team Banzai is a little nutty. But they're funny, they're smart, and they're badasses, and they're on our side. But we're not talking about politics. We're not saying Mitt Romney. It's like, no, we're saying this is what freedom is. This is what independence is. This is what being armed is. This is what we're fighting. All people do is they go to the story and they see an adventure story and they leave and they think it's cool. Nothing make me happier than to have these people say, hey, you really ought to go check out Big Bat Problems on the way to the next Organizing for America meeting, because we'll hit them. Their guard will be down. And that's how they do it. They get us with our suspension of disbelief. They get us through the movies. They get us in the dark caves with the flickering lights on the walls, and they, paint bison and buffalo, and we sit there, and we read it. So, yeah, we got to get in this fight, and quickly, I think.